show.
Oh, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you said that. Nice to have your company once again on this episode of OurTime. Janice, I was watching television the other night.
Really?
And don't we all, usually at night? And I was particularly noticing the poor interviewer, people like us, talking to politicians and trying to get a straight answer.
Any sense at all?
I was amazed how many ways can you say the same thing that's obviously the line that they've been told to promote. But the questions never get answered, and it just occurred to me, probably the only way we can get straight answers is from journalists who write it in the press.
And we have our very own here with us.
Matt Gilbertson, welcome to OurTime.
Welcome, Matt.
Janice, Malcolm, how are you?
Well,
Good.
you know, all the better for you being here. Is that the right
Sucking
answer?
up already, I love it. Keep it going.
Yeah,
Keep it
exactly.
going.
So, Matt, you write for the Advertiser here in South Australia and also the Sunday Mail.
Yes.
So you get to interview a whole lot of people. Does anybody ever tell the truth?
Well, you know, I think a lot of people, it's very much driven by kind of publicity and PR people, you know. I mean, just here in South Australia, I think there would be at least 20 to 30 PR companies.
Right. That's a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of taken over.
Right.
Really. So our job
it's
is
hard to
kind
find
of,
the truth.
Well, our job is trying to kind of find something that's going to be interesting and relevant to our readers, while keeping the PR people happy so they'll give us more interviews. So,
of course.
you know, I mean, we don't want to be a publicity machine.
No.
We want to have something that's going to be interesting.
story.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of that
Do you get to the point, though, that you're in the middle of talking to somebody and you think, you've just told me all that before, you've just said all that?
There's definitely, well, I mean, when you do your research, part of my job is kind of interviewing celebrities a lot of the time, and so you can look back on old interviews that they've done, and so you do get to see some of the rehearsed answers come out time and time again, but then you've got to ask different questions.
Yeah.
That's the
Valid point. Yeah,
And how
ask
do you
different
get the gossip? How do you find the dirt? Well,
I can't give you all my secrets, Janet, please. You know, it's just from talking to people, really. It's just having conversations, and then all of a sudden you go, hang on a second, that's a little bit, and then, you know, do a little bit more digging.
Digging where? Do you sort of dig into the magazines a lot, or is it just through...
Well, my gossip is more kind of local based, so there's not a lot of stuff that's from magazines.
No.
It's
But
more
it's
coming
being
from...
out and about.
Yeah, out and about.
And you're out and
Hear a
about
little-
everywhere.
Sometimes I like to stay home and, you know, watch Real Housewives or Channel 44.
Of course. Is it Facebook? Does that give you the...
Facebook's very good. Facebook's very good because people don't have a very good filter these days.
It's weird, isn't it?
Facebook. You know, I know just 2 weeks ago I got quite a big story out of somebody rather well known just going off on Facebook, and then, you know, they don't realise that you know, they've put it out to 2,000
They
people.
forgot to share it just with a friend or a certain person, so it's gone right through the whole...
And then I always find it weird when they get, you know, some people can get a bit angry that we then put it in the paper, and you think, you've published it first. You're the one that put it out there.
That's interesting.
I'm giving you a right to respond. I then went to the other person. You know, we've got to then find the rest of the picture.
How has that affected obviously the print media, having things like Facebook?
To be honest, I mean, look, I kind of came in when Facebook had already...
So you're a Facebook kid?
I am, yeah. I think when I started the paper, it was 6 years now. Facebook was already pretty established. Now it's Twitter, and but it's also it can be quite a valuable tool if you know how to search the right things on Twitter and Facebook. You know, you can find who's been where and
what they've been
up to, and then the photos.
It's the dirt and the photos. But speaking of the dirt and the photos, there's another Matt Gilbertson who isn't Matt Gilbertson. And speaking of your Facebook page, I love your header picture on Facebook page with your family.
My Sound of Music photo.
With your Sound of Music photo.
Thank you. I thought you'd like that.
Is it your mum?
My mum's the sewer, yes, and
she's
costume maker. She's the nun and the costume maker. I had a Sound of Music 30th birthday.
Did
As
you?
you would, of course.
Yes, I did.
Did you sing? Did you do the sing-along?
Of course. Everybody. There was some very interesting costumes. One of my friends came as Ray, a drop of golden sun. Another came as a goat. Some were a little
the lonely ghost.
a little more adult than I can talk about at this time slot.
Did you have a mother superior, or was that your mum?
I had many mother superiors.
And most of those, some of them were even girls.
Some of them were, exactly. You know my friends well.
No, I just looked at your Facebook page.
I'm good. I like a stalker.
Did that...
My last stalker lost interest, Matt.
Oh,
so
how
glad to have
Yes,
you.
we found another one.
Thank God.
So you're doing a tour at the moment as your alter ego. That's the thing, Hans.
Yes, I am. Well, he's been around for a while.
Well, you know, I've got to... This is... In absolute honesty, there are little things that stick in your mind as you go through life, things that really make you laugh.
Yes.
And there's something that Hans does that I just fell apart.
Why?
I can't tell you. You've got to see Hans.
I have seen Hans in action.
I don't know if there's more than one thing.
No, there's much more than one thing, but there's one thing. You know, you see all the great comedians, and usually there's that one thing that's stuck in your mind that you never forget that they did, that I've never seen anybody else do, that Hans does.
Do you want to say what it is, or are we going to keep it secret?
I think we should keep it secret. Because I think people should go...
Excellent.
You see,
and more importantly, buy a ticket.
Well, that's what keeps everybody alive.
And we should say
starving.
he's a very good musician too, because...
Well, I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because...
I spoke too soon.
Your whole career started how?
Well, it started, I mean, I kind of, you know, did dance classes growing up and piano lessons. We were too poor to go to Mighty Good. I just want to point that out. So,
that's okay.
You know,
how tall are you now?
6'3".
6'3", okay. You would have made a lovely dancer.
Yeah,
You'd have fitted into that line beautifully. Yep.
Maybe if I went to Mighty Good,
You could have.
Exactly. But the Hans thing started from...
Sorry, before Hans.
Yeah.
This.
With the piano. Yeah, well, I did classical piano kind of all the way through school and went to the conservatorium here.
Wow.
You see, that's a really valid point, because people don't realise that this is your background.
Well, yeah, I kind of, you know, I don't practice as much as I should now, and it kind of feels like another life.
But there does come a time that you get it, and you know how to do what you need. You're not playing Beethoven or Chopin every Sunday.
No, but I wish I was.
Do you?
You know, I think
do you really love it that much?
Yeah,
okay.
But you know, it's the thing where you you grow up, and I remember having big fights with my mum, and she's trying to make me practice, and I think piano it's the instrument where you've got to be self-disciplined. Any musical instrument is, that kind of thing. You've really got to...
It's the muscle memory thing that everyone's starting to understand. It takes you 200 hours to get something right, that you can just do it automatically.
Right.
Like we drive a car and we just do that so automatically.
200 hours?
Apparently it takes 200 hours. Current research is showing, I know that because it's a mighty good talent school. It takes 200 hours. It also takes you 150 hours to unlearn something that you have learnt to correct it.
Well, see, this is my problem. My 150 hours they've been racked up over the last few years. So.
Well, you swapped from keyboard to...
Yeah, I swapped from, well, I didn't exactly swap. I mean, I had finished high school, and there's that giant gap between high school and uni. There's something like you finish year 12 in November or something.
It's a gap year.
It's not the gap year, but there's like 6 months in between, you know.
Finishing and then starting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uni starts in March or something outrageous.
Oh, that's right.
So I taught myself to play accordion in that time by busking, and it was Christmas time, and I learned about 3 songs. I went into the mall and just learnt kind of as I went along.
Incredible.
And I was busking at the Central Market one night, on a Friday night, and I met a performer named Catherine Campbell, who is...
Oh, she's well known here in South Australia.
Very well
sort of the doyen of all cabaret performers.
Yeah, she had a wonderful group called Gentlemen Prefer Curves, and she's done a lot of state opera stuff and everything. And they had a show called Berlin Cabaret, which was every Friday at the Weimar Room, which you may remember as downtown on Honey Street.
I remember seeing you there.
Do you?
I do, in fact.
Well, that's where it kind of started.
The people I was with on the night said, this is a young bloke who's just you know, come out to play and do all the stuff in the cabaret scene. And I remember watching you thinking, I can't believe I'm talking to you now. You know, I just remember that when you said that, because you were dressed as the Hans thing and with all of that in that.
Well, I mean, it evolved over a few years. The first Hans costume was just kind of like a vest that my grandpa had and a white shirt and this hat, and it kind of got a little more glitter as it went along.
And a little more risque.
A little bit more.
But there's great patter, but the show is basically, you've got like a disco feel about it. Well, that's how it read to me. A German disco feel.
Yes.
Such a thing exists.
I think everybody wanted to be a pop star growing up. And I didn't know what cabaret was. And then when I found out through the Weimar Room, I went, oh, well, I can do that. So it's kind of, you know, this is me pretending to be Madonna in hot pants in a German accent.
It doesn't look like Madonna at all.
The costumes are pretty similar. Yes. Let's be real.
Well, we've had a look at some of those as we've been talking. So, Matt, it's great to talk to you. I hope you have great success in the future.
Thank you.
It's a matter of knowing, if you live here in South Australia, to have a look in the Sunday Mail for a bit of goss or the Advertiser during the week, and you can catch up with all the people that Matt is talking to through the week. Who's been your favourite?
Well, okay, I have a couple of favourites. My first favourite was Ginger Spice, because I was a very big Spice Girls fan, and she was my favourite, and Dad dressed up as her at my 21st. Birthday's a bit of big
does explain a few things. Mother and mum, father.
Yep,
Spice.
Ginger Spice.
Ginger Spice.
But one of my favourites was Naomi Campbell, because I thought she was going to be quite prickly, because the same thing, you know, you look back at the interviews and she's quite cold. And she was lovely. She was so lovely, and I saw her later on that night, and she was not what I
think it's because you've got a nice manner that you come across to people.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she could recognise a fellow bitch. Maybe that was it. I don't know.
Matt, it's just great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck with your show and the column.
Thank you.
And we'll be back shortly with Book Club, and we've got... we're talking about the Cantorville Ghost.
Ghost, yes.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to talk to the girls about the Cantorville Ghost coming up after this break. See you now.
I hope you have your books ready, because I'm here with the girls, Tash and Jill, and we're talking about the Cantorville Ghost. Now, it's not a very big book, and it's by Oscar Wilde, right?
That's right.
But I mean, looking at that, you could read
There's
that in
two stories in here.
2 stories. Yeah. So you could read them in a day.
Mine is
yours is bigger.
So mine is a very little segment in the complete works, but yeah, it's a very quick read.
But an interesting read. It's quite different, I think. It's an unusual story. I mean, it's about this ghost. Well, you can explain. I'll let you talk now. Please go ahead.
Well, of course, from Oscar Wilde, you would expect to have something a little different and not terribly conventional, as he wasn't. But do you want me to tell the story?
Please do.
Okay, so we have a situation where we've got an American, very stereotypical American family coming to buy an old castle.
He's a minister.
In England, yes. Very political. And so we have the picture of these very consumerism type people. They're out there. They've got every new invention made to man, like Pickering's stain remover and special oils. Totally, you know,
foreign to what the house would have had originally.
And of course, in England, you know, we're very upper class, and you know, we're kind of looking down on a lot of these things. So anyway, they buy the house, and Mr. Otis says, well, you know, he's been warned about the ghost, because Lord Cantorville is very concerned that he doesn't buy it on false pretences. So he says, you know, I'll take the furniture and the ghost as part of the deal. And it's a done thing, because, you know, if we haven't got ghosts in America, well, you've got them, so we really should have them. So anyway.
Yes,
it's all very cute. So anyway, they buy the house with the ghost, and they proceed through, you know, various incidents where the ghost tries to terrify them, and
He's doing his very best.
yes,
Yeah.
and of course they're just laughing along like
But the children too, Jill, the children get involved too, don't they, with, was it like pellet guns and things?
Oh yeah, they terrorise this poor ghost. And so sorry for the ghost.
Yeah, so the ghost is not the one terrorising, it's they're terrorising the ghost.
All of his old faithful tricks don't work.
No.
You know, all of these other families that he's managed to get rid of previously,
Like the headless
these
corpse
Americans,
and,
no, they're not having a bar of it.
No.
yeah, they're just kind of saying, well, do you have to clank your chains?
Oil the chains.
yeah. We have
to
this-
make so much noise. That's right.
But there's a blood stain in front of the fireplace in one of the rooms, and it gradually changes from the dark red colour to, at one point it gets to green, because we learn he's actually working through the colours of the young girl's paint set. So it's not actually a blood stain, but every morning it gets wiped off, and he's just like,
But for so many
Now
years,
what's
he's kind of
He's tried and
played on
true,
this
yeah.
is a blood stain, because he did murder his wife, we must
Yes.
remember.
Yeah, he did.
Because she was very plain, and she didn't serve very nice meals.
No.
And he got
He
very
wasn't
annoyed.
very nice.
He got very annoyed with her, and he didn't really mean to, but he pushed her downstairs and she died, I
Yeah.
think.
So-
And so there was a blood stain in the dining room. And the new American, owner, his wife, she goes, it was very inconvenient, having blood stains in was it the dining room or the sitting room?
it was definitely in front of the fireplace.
Yes, yeah. And it was very inconvenient. We have to get rid of that. And the old maid, she's saying, well, it's been there forever, it's a stain. I can't.
Historical.
So their son whips out his little stick of Pinkerton's magic stain remover, and he kind of mops it all up, and it's gone. So the poor old ghost has to
Going
keep
back for another
replacing
colour.
it.
But the daughter is sympathetic to the ghost. She understands, he's doing his best, and all of his efforts are falling in a heap,
Yeah.
and so she sort of feels a little bit sorry for him and befriends him.
And he does almost have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, he
doesn't
does. Yeah, he can't. He's not
For a
going.
ghost, how
Can't
sad.
handle it. Yeah.
But there were some movies made over time. There were different
Yeah.
movies made about this story.
Yeah.
Now, Phil told us earlier that it was made in 1944, the original version, and it was, who was the actor? Do you remember what he said?
Charles Lawton.
Lombard.
Lawton.
Sorry, I got it. We got it in the end.
Yeah, we did.
So, but I did read a review that said that none of the movies came close to giving it the right treatment. It's better to read.
I remember it being very much like and reading it, I remember seeing it. Once I'd read it, I remembered seeing it. But it's more like a kid's story, I thought, than a contemporary, an adult
The
sort
movie
of.
that you saw.
Well, just the story itself, I guess. It was, it's not particularly frightening, and the heroine is a 15-year-old girl who's younger, really, than her years. So yeah, I kind of read it as almost, like a Harry Potter type.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whether the ghosts have got quirks and they're interesting character themselves. No, you don't agree with that.
No, I did think there was a very kind of interesting kind of message, and Oscar Wilde was very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Making people kind of...
There was
So it's
almost
worth
a
a read, but
moral.
you would recommend
Definitely,
it.
yes.
It is a book that you would
it
want
was
to
very
read.
good.
Don't watch the 1987 movie.
Not the 1987.
Terrible.
Read the book. It's not long.
And it's extremely funny.
Yeah, it was good.
I
It was
found
very
myself
good. There's a nice little
laughing
twist
out
at the
loud.
end.
Yes, there is.
So
a
what
nice little
we're
twist.
actually reviewing the next time is a book that has caught my interest. It's The Rosie Project, which I'm looking forward to. So it sounds great, and apparently that's in the process of being made a movie too.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you, girls. That was lovely. Now, Malcolm is talking to Mark McBriarty of Home Instead Senior Care. Now, this is the topic is Top Scams Targeting Older Aussies, Part 1. So, over to you, Malcolm.
It's great to welcome back to OurTime Mark McBriarty, who's the Managing Director of Home Instead Senior Care. Mark, we'd really like to talk to you about the internet and seniors becoming more computer literate. The thing is, we don't want to frighten people not to use the internet because it's the most wonderful tool ever invented by man. But there are some issues that people can be conned, as they would be through letters and cards coming into their mailbox. So just explain some of the issues.
Look, I think probably the major one is grooming, where people who are perhaps new to the internet, and there's no doubt that the 55 plus is the fastest growing segment, and there's a real yearning to get out and have a look around the world, and it's allowing them to meet people who they don't know, who have a great ability to be able to ingratiate themselves, whether that's through flattery, whether it's through misery, but being able
Asking for money, basically.
Very much so, but ingratiating themselves, becoming part of the family often, and this happens over sometimes months and years, where they build a relationship and don't ask for anything for 12 months, and then all of a sudden that's when they start.
These are the things we hear about, but it's never fully explained how that developed in the first place. So in a way it's through loneliness.
Quite often.
Yes.
And you know, Facebook, of someone liking you that you've not met before, and again striking up a conversation. So it really is about being wary and making sure that you know who you're talking to, and you test the bona fides. If someone is genuinely in need of assistance, then you'd certainly want to see some evidence of that before you start.
If you didn't know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the reality is, if this came through your letterbox, you would just dismiss it because we all know the scams. But because this is a new technology and it's so personal,
absolutely,
that we can see somebody talking to us if we need to, the words can come up, they can tear your heartstrings apart.
No question. And look, it can happen in the flesh. We can have people knocking on doors saying, I found your wallet in the street, when indeed they may have lifted the wallet. The next thing you know, they're in the house assisting. The next thing you know, they're in the will. The next thing you know, the person's in the retirement village and they've got themselves a home. There are some unscrupulous people out there who prey on the vulnerability and the warmth and genuineness of our older population.
So the most important thing is, don't be afraid of the internet, but just treat it with respect. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It's always a good saying.
If you don't know who it is, then don't go there.
Absolutely. Look, no question, if you're receiving invitations from people you haven't met, just don't accept them. There are broader networks out there and social clubs that you can meet people through.
In the flesh.
Indeed.
Mark, come back and tell us some more another time.
Love to.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
What fun we've had.
Big show today. But in all seriousness, we were talking about the grooming scams for older people. You know, it is easy to get caught on the internet, but again, I just would like to stress to everybody, don't not use the tool, because it's a great way of contacting your family, your friends, using the internet, or using Facebook, or using email, just for people who are a little afraid of that. Another thing that's...
There are courses that you can take,
of course,
if you want to actually learn more about it.
But it's also about things like paying online. People are afraid to put money through the computer.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to do it, or if you're unsure about doing it, ask somebody younger, because they're bound to know exactly what to do. And also, just to make it clear to you which things are safe to do and which things aren't.
Sure.
But, you know, if somebody tells you you've won $1 million, it's unlikely. Or that you're the last in the line of a family and there's an English stately manor left. Yes, all of that. Because those things are rubbish. Or, if you're a guy, some pretty face pops up and says how desperately they want to meet you. Not true, not true.
No.
Look at yourself in the mirror and say, really? Anyway, we'd love you to join us next time on OurTime, because we'll have another action-packed program for you, won't we?
Yes, we will. We always do. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed this program.
Keep yourself nice till next time.
Bye for now.